order, a meeting back to order, and we'll try to get through this before we lose it again. If you want to come back up, sir, we'll. If there any questions,
You have to yell a little bit because
Yeah, I'll try to speak as loud as I can into the mic.
with the live stream, unfortunately, it doesn't pick up everything unless we're pretty loud with the rain.
Yeah. I do want to say, Ms. Combs and I were talking, I think she wanted to talk to the board about some additional funding that might be out there.
Yeah, so we were talking there are potentially some ways outside of traditional grant funding, like through the Development Commission and different things like that. Sometimes you see partnerships in other like counties that they're willing to go into some sort of agreement with the county and they pay for a portion or donate towards that process because it impacts them as well. So that's something we want to exhaust all of those avenues before we go into those second and third phases, so that we get as much funding as we can without having to use our budget for
But for
that.
tonight, we're focused on
Yes.
phase one. Anything after phase one is
Yes.
going to be another conversation with phase
Yes.
two and funding in the new year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
and I would recommend that we make contact with the regional council. They do a lot of comprehensive plans, and they knew a lot about grants too, so that might be a good contact for us.
Yeah, so all I would caution about is they're basically in competition with
Strike that.
Florida Professional Services.
Yeah, and I am
already
the,
had some conversations.
and I'm the planning and grants manager, so I have me and two other staff members, and we do, my other two staff members are grant specialists, and that's all they do 24/7 is they go scout grants, look for grants. So anything we can do to get funding for y'all, we will definitely do.
I'm just a board member. Me and Commissioner Bennett's actually the president,
Vice President.
vice president
President
now
next
of the
year.
regional council. So.
But the good news is we can work on phase one if it's approved by the board. We can also continue to start looking at some of these other projects that
Yeah.
LaDonna and I can get teed up, and then if the grant funding becomes available, then we'll have
Okay.
professional assistance
Yeah.
with us.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chief.
All right.
it. With that, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
What was that?
Make a motion to
I
approve.
got a holler.
Sorry.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We'll move into our next item on the agenda, which is budget schedule on the trim calendar. Ms. Ruiz.
Good evening.
How are you?
I have, great. I have attached to the board package the schedule and some calendars because, as always, we have to change some dates. It looks like we are good on regular scheduled board meetings all the way up to August 19th. September 2nd would have been our next scheduled meeting, but according to TRIM guidelines, that's out of scope. They request that the meetings start from September 3rd through the 18th to present the tentative budget. My recommendation is September 9th, that we have the public hearing for the tentative budget. Then we follow through 2 weeks later to September 23rd to have the final budget.
So not have our meeting September 2nd, move it to September 9th and the 23rd.
That's
So
correct.
we're just backing up a week.
Canceling the 2nd and the 16th
Right.
of September.
Okay.
Have we cross-checked with the school board and everybody else to make sure
I
that
sure
those
have.
don't? Because I see a X and I see a square
The
around
X
15,
is
so I
where
don't know
the
what that
school
means.
board had their meeting scheduled. That's why I say, nope, you cannot. Exactly. And I verified all that.
We can't do it on the 2nd or the 16th?
No, you cannot.
No, so there's a certain number of days from when the trim notices go out. You have to have a certain number of days, and then you have a window of when we have to have our tentative millage,
Yeah.
tentative budget adoption, and then from those dates, you have to have another window of time where then you adopt your final millage and your final budget. So that's what Cheryl's kind of outlined in the yellow and the teal. And then in August, one of those two dates, y'all will have to set the maximum millage.
Yep.
I'm out of town the 8th through the
Well,
15th.
July 15th, we have the proposed operating millage rate. And then the trim goes out August 24th.
I'll be out of the country on September 23rd.
So Cheryl said those last dates again when the trim has to go out?
The trim has to go out at the last day. I don't know when the property appraiser is going to send them out, but the August 24th.
So that's why we have to have max millage set at one of our
Before then.
August meetings.
Okay, yep.
So for our newer members, maximum millage means that every year the board has to establish essentially the ceiling of how high through budget preparation and analysis, what's the highest we can possibly go. Unfortunately, your constituents oftentimes misinterpret this. There's poor Mr. Chair got
We got
hit with this one year. So what happens is,
It's in July, by the way.
thank you. So we can go higher, but you can set a higher rate, but sometimes your constituents don't understand that you haven't set anything. You're just really kind of having the scope. So at least probably for the last 9 years,
10.
we have set our max millage at whatever our stated rate is
Our current
and
rate.
work from there.
So each year, in the 10 years I've been on the board doing this, is each year we have set the maximum millage rate at the same rate it is today.
The
Yes, sir.
first 2
And-
years, you set it at 10. I looked up the history. And then thereon, we went to 7.29
But we've
instead.
held it, well, in the last number of years, we've held it the same. So what that means is we would not be able to go up. Once we set that max millage rate, we absolutely cannot go up. I don't care what the budget issue comes out to. We will have to make it match to that, which we have done every year.
Yeah, there's
And we're
an
doing that.
extreme scenario where you can go up, which I think requires by mail notifying every
Yes.
household in the county.
Yeah. So you set that back in August timeframe, and that way, by the time you get to the budget cycle,
You will set that July 15th, because even the trim guidelines state before August 5th.
Oh,
Before,
so the 15th we're doing max millage?
yes, that's why it's in red, that we
Okay.
have to vote.
As long as Sarah knows to have it on the agenda.
So we set the max millage July 15th?
Correct. We will propose the
I will be
operating budget or proposed tentative budget.
that week there.
So here's where attendance gets a little sporty. If there is a tax increase, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what the rolled back rate is and things like that. So you have your stated rate at the 7.291? 1.5? So that's been our rate for the longest time. We all live in a time of inflation. So as the cost of goods and services goes up, so do our property values. When the property values go up, you'll hear the term the rollback rate. The rollback rate is what tax rate would it take to collect the same number of dollars as we collected last year? When the value of a house goes up, what happens is your rollback rate is a lower number than that 195.
Yes.
Or those numbers are in there somewhere. But so as that goes back, so then if you stay at the stated rate or the current rate, what ends up happening is the law considers that a tax increase, because now this year, because property values went up, even though you pay more for roads, you pay more for electricity, you pay more for salaries, even though you pay more for those things, because it views it as a tax increase, there are certain thresholds where we need 3, 4, and 5 members to go beyond certain percentages.
so I'll set in layman's terms as well. Buy something that's $100, you're paying $7 in sales taxes, right? Over the next year, that product goes up, costs say it costs $200.
Right.
Now you're collecting $14 in sales tax. We have adopted the same rate, so it means we'd collect $14. The rollback rate would cut it back and cut that from 7% to 3.5%. So that way you would still, although the values went up, you still only got $7.
Right.
That's the rollback rate. So we have not done that since I've been on the board. We've always, the last number of years, did something a little different first year. We've always set the maximum rate at the same current millage rate is. That does result in an increase in revenue for us only because property values have gone up, whether it's through sales, whether it's more commercial property, there's additional sales tax collected. That gives us the ability to cover the cost increases that we have. Cost for increases in insurances, cost for increases in services, all of those additional costs. So it's put out as we approve a rate increase, but really we held the same rate.
The reality is, in reality, you're treading water because every time we buy a grader, I mean, the cost of graders are just astronomical these days. The cost of a fire truck is astronomical these days. So it's like even though your CPI goes up 4.5%, the people that we're buying stuff from don't just charge us 4.5%. They're charging us sometimes 10, 20, and 30% more on the goods and services you buy.
So to come back to this, in July 15th, we will set the maximum millage rate. Seems pretty reasonable to think that we're going to set the maximum millage rate at the current rate. Now, what that means is when we go through the budget workshops, we go through trying to balance everything else, we know with that millage rate, we can project how much revenue we're going to have. It will be a little bit more revenue than we had in previous years because property values have gone up. But once we set that maximum millage rate on July 15th, that's the maximum revenue we can get. We cannot go back and say, well, we messed up. We need to increase the rate and charge more, raise the millage
Like you
rate.
can't even go to
get more money.
7.3.
It's
Like 7.3 is not possible if you set it at the 7.2915.
so it's the absolute maximum that you're going to give. So
Yeah, I'm good.
now, as
I was just looking at the dates. I'm out of the country 9/7 through the 13th. That week right there. So we would have the tentative meeting on that 9th.
and that's
I didn't know if there was a way to work around that, but I mean,
The only
also,
Is there
way we
any
can work out
any chance
is,
you'd be somewhere you could call in?
yeah, I could definitely call in.
If you can call in, I mean, you could still appear and vote remotely, as long as we establish a quorum here.
commissions can do that. I know the authority boards can, but commissions can do that too.
Yeah. There was an AG opinion in 2021 after COVID that essentially said as long as you establish the quorum,
Before.
You must have a quorum present.
Physically
And
present.
Physically present, the others can then join remotely.
yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And the reason why my hesitation is I don't know what property values have done.
that's right.
So until we know what the property appraiser assesses the values of the properties, then you're not going to know whether or not your difference in the rollback rate is essentially more than 10%. When you hit 10%, then you have to have a supermajority vote. It means I need at least, I would presume you may all vote together, but you need at least 4 votes to even keep it the stated rate, the current rate. If it's a 10%.
Which even on that one, I mean, September 9th, that's just public hearing on the tentative budget and proposed millage, right? And then the final hearing would be the 9th.
So you have to have the same votes on the tentative and on the final.
both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the blue words underneath it,
Gotcha.
that's where we recalculate the proposed millage rate, public, because we're getting more of the property values by then. So I
Okay.
just recalculate our revenues.
Okay.
That does not mean your or the millage rate will change. That just means we recalculate because the property values, we're getting more of the property values in.
And the good news is, I don't know what your travel schedule is, but the good news is, by law, the tentative millage and budget have to be the first and second thing on the agenda for those days. So as long as you can be in for that
At
first
6 o'clock.
section, yeah, whenever we schedule it.
Yeah.
As long as you're in for the first part of that meeting, if you have other stuff to do, that's okay.
Okay. I was making sure.
I'll be out of the country on September 23rd. I leave on the 18th of September, and I'll be gone the rest of the month.
I'm sorry, 18th until when?
The rest of the month, I'll be out of,
Or
I
out-
leave on the 18th.
You be here the 23rd?
Yeah, I'll be back the 23rd.
So we'll have,
I would guess we generally just need 3 votes.
It's a 2/3 vote, which is 66%, so I need 3 and 1 person.
Right, so
Three's
I
only
think you need the
60%.
supermajority
I said
on that,
3 and 1 person, so
Okay.
4
So
people.
which is 4. So as long as we have 4, we're
Okay.
good.
That's fine.
But,
I apologize, I had to
Did I
schedule
hear you just
around.
say it had to be the same ones for both hearings?
No, you still have to have the same thresholds
Same
on your
amount.
votes.
Okay,
for
okay,
both
I
hearings.
I
It can be
misunderstood what
different
you
people.
just said.
people.
Okay, I thought you
Same
meant the
amount.
same, gotcha.
It's the same, the number of people is what I
Right.
meant.
I'll be here on the 9th.
We'll
Perfect.
be good. We'll have 4 and 4, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
So,
Even if you can't make the on phone, we'll have 4 and 4.
Yes,
Which
sir.
is going, I don't think we'll ever have to have the complete board to pass.
I agree.
6
So,
o'clock here is midnight there, so I can call in.
your,
Need to-
your schedule is set by your vote at the beginning or end of every year. So because this is a change, you have to have a motion and vote to change those dates.
Any other questions or comments on the dates that's put forth by the financial director? If not, I'll take a motion to.
Can I ask one question on that? Sure. Do we have workshops planned for here?
We do not.
When do we plan the workshops?
Later, and whenever y'all.
We'll have that discussion as soon as we do this vote.
Normally on the same meeting day.
We normally have a one-day
Right.
workshop.
Y'all have had a one day or the
But
past
it's
couple of years.
usually on a meeting day.
Yeah, so if we can move forward with the motion on setting the dates, then we'll go into talking about budget.
Okay.
I move we accept the dates as stated, changes in September to the 9th and the 23rd.
I'll second.
A motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously, and now we can talk about tentative budget workshop. Do we have any type of dates?
Nope, Sarah said that I just talked to y'all about it, and it's free game right now.
What do you need as far as your numbers?
I am meeting with directors the first 2 weeks of July, and then I have to have something to prepare to meet with y'all on the 15th. That's so preliminary. It's amazing because we have no revenues at that point. So the 2 meetings in August.
We got water dripping. We'll get it right before the dripping.
See what we got in the budget for it.
Maybe we could do half days on both of those days, and then we can, because we always do changes.
Why don't we do a full day budget August 5th?
Okay? And then have
And then
changes.
we'll make a decision on August 5th whether we need to do another half day on the 19th.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Yes, sir. We'll have the tax collector, that's our last constitutional budget to turn in on August 1st. And then we normally have a lot more of the state revenues at the end of August.
Yeah.
So,
So let's plan on, if that's okay with everyone, let's do a full day August 5th. And then after we do that, we can see whether we need to, like we did last year, if we need
Yes,
to
sir.
come back early at one meeting and finish up.
yes, sir.
What time does full day start?
We usually start at
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Commissioner Bennett usually buys everybody breakfast at 8.
Yeah, the last
I mean,
one here.
Yep.
does- Okay, August 5th.
Anything else, Ms. Cheryl?
Not on this subject, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving right along, and we have our pending business report. Miss Sarah is not here. Does anyone want to take a look at the pending business report and have any discussions on that, or you,
I'd like to comment on the Sanderson Center.
let's move on with it then.
We had a meeting there with Doug Moore, Mr. Hickenbottom, myself, Sarah, and Kayla, and the general contractor to talk about options to make it ADA compliant for a restroom. And they've came up with a tentative plan, and they've reviewed the engineering drawings for it, and they're coming back with a proposal to see what it would cost us to do that. Basically, we would have to completely destroy the 2 restrooms that are there to make them ADA compliant. It's a lot more reasonable to, since there's 2 back doors, to build an additional ADA compliant restroom on the back and just leave the other 2 restrooms as they are and just move forward. So we're working on a plan going forward with that.
I would
Man,
offer-
I'm not even an engineer, that was my design.
I would offer the suggestion as well. Depends on the use of it. You probably only got to build one.
Yeah,
large-
one's all we do.
One ADA compliant bathroom.
We'd still have the other 2.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We'd still have the other 2.
Right,
So
just
then
one.
we'd have one ADA compliant.
Correct.
Well, you said there's 2 back doors, you can use one for an exit and one for
Absolutely,
the back.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? They talk about the windows and doors?
They talked about them, but we don't have a proposal for that yet.
Okay.
We are moving forward with it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to discuss? I was at CO meeting last night, COA bus wash. We can take off. Everything is working great, no problems, and it's in full use. Praise the Lord.
Yay.
St. Mary Co's boat ramp. Mr. Mobby, you want to?
No,
Connor Fire Station, I think we're still working on a date for a grant. Did they get with you, Commissioner Bennett, on the date for the grant? Okay. The NAB Sports Complex, we don't have any staff here. I wanted to know where we was at.
There
Have
was
you
a
heard
meeting.
anything on
There was a meeting, but I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything on that.
I didn't hear it.
I didn't touch base with them afterwards.
it? Okay. That's all I have. Anybody have anything else on pending business report?
I think the RFP for auditing services, we'll follow up with staff and see where we're at on the review
Okay.
for that.
Anything else? Anyone? Our next item will be expense report. There's no sense. Anyone have any questions on that? If they do, just contact Miss Sarah. She couldn't be here tonight. She has a medical issue that she needed to take care of, and that's more important than being here with us. I guarantee you it was more important than being here with us.
Yep.
American Rescue Plan, phases 1 and 2. I didn't see that there's any upgrades. Everything looks the same. Fiscal year 23-24 audit update. Commissioner Mobley, you want to take
I
that?
do have an update. We had a Teams meeting. I believe Ms. Cheryl was out. We had a Teams meeting. I forget the date. They have Friday the 6th. That's right. Friday the 6th is the last time we convened and had a meeting with James Moore over Teams. At that time, they were going to get with Ms. Cheryl and correct the discrepancies between the trial balance and the fiscal year-end financial statements. They weren't jiving from the prior year financials to the beginning balances. So there was a couple things that they were working through to get that resolved. Have you got with them on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they've been working together on getting that corrected. I guess at last meeting we talked about where CKH was no longer using the system, but they are helping us now, correct?
They are using the system and they are helping us.
They are working on the 23-24, or no, 23-24 one,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
We gave you the deadline.
Okay. Realistically, now, after talking with James Moore and staff, they're looking at a mid-August completion date at this time. So we're moving through into the July. They're looking at definitely like a 6-week turnaround from getting everything correct and to them to be audited at that point. So we're looking at a mid-August, should be very reasonable according to James Moore. So at that point, that's kind of where we're at.
I would recommend staff draft a letter and send that over to the state and let them know that that's a tentative completion date,
Okay.
just so they're aware of what's going on, one from the county and one from the clerk if we can.
Okay. I believe one has been sent so far.
We sent one.
So we'll
but
go ahead and
didn't have
update
any
them.
kind of dates or anything on it.
Right.
I thought we said that it was going to be done by the 31st, unless I'm mistaken. July 31st, so this is the second one.
Well, this is, well,
Change that
It
again.
need to be more.
Mhm.
I agree with
We
you.
need-
I believe we got date scheduled for, I thought it was going to be Friday. Do you know when the next team's meeting is?
They won't be back till next Monday from their vacations.
That's right. Okay, so we're looking at probably next week getting another update. So we'll have another update for the board at that time. And then we'll get with staff and see. I would say wait till after that meeting
That's fine. I just
before we
don't-
send it.
What I don't want to do is if we told them 31st and we ain't got it there on the 31st without an update before the 31st.
Right.
Because I want them to know that we're working diligently on it to get it
You want
To
them
get
to
it
know
straight.
we're being proactive.
right.
Correct. It's scheduled for the 27th. So
What I don't want to
think
get is
we
an
can have
email,
it.
hey, you told me it's going to be here the 31st and we ain't got it.
Right.
That's not what I want to get.
Sure.
Anything else on the audit? Okay. Next item on our agenda is county manager, and we wish her well. We have county attorney.
Actually got a couple things. One, hopefully y'all have filed your financial disclosure, but that is due the end of this week, so please make sure that if you haven't done it already, you do that. I think y'all know that the Florida Association of Counties Conference is coming up next week, so if any of y'all are attending that, that's a good opportunity to kind of get to network and learn about different things that are happening around the state. I think most people know that legislative session finally ended last night at, I don't know, it was 11:15 or 11:20.
Yeah.
The kind of bad news for us is some of the rural renaissance bill that really would have helped Baker, Bradford, Union. That bill died, so a lot of the provisions there, like we talked about SHIP money, one of the rural renaissance bill provisions was that, as Lydia told you, you get $350,000 a year towards SHIP money. It's been $350,000 for like a
Right.
decade. So they were talking about moving that up to $1 million, and they collect enough revenue to do that. But that's one of those
Yeah.
things that happen and die. This morning, so they finally passed the budget at whatever it was, 11:15 last night. Florida Tax Watch already has what they call, every year they publish a turkeys list. So it's basically what they consider to be wasteful government spending. It's legislators trying to bring money home to their districts, and it's everything from a building for the colleges or universities. Well, we're on the turkey list, so that's where I would employ anybody who has contacts with the governor's office or anybody who's willing to write an email. So the Lusty Museum got legislative approval for $400,000, but it's on that turkey list. So any support that you can give, again, to convince the governor to not veto our project is always helpful, because we don't want the governor to think that because it's on the list that maybe it's not worthy of what our community needs. So anything I can do to help with that, just let me know. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. That would be something that the regional council can look into too. The funding of the Lusty battlefield is very important. So help me remember, because I'm bad about forgetting, but I know you will. Thank you. Okay. We'll move into commissioner comments, and tonight we'll start with Commissioner Hartley.
I had nothing.
Commissioner Mann.
Just a quick comment on County Road Department. Everybody knows how short-staffed we are, and we've got equipment. We don't have people to operate it. The job they are doing is beyond commendable. Roads that we have that should have already had work on them that we hadn't been able to get funding for, they're maintaining those roads at a level, and they've got people out just like all the rest of us. But the job that the county road department's doing for Baker County is beyond commendable. It's at a level that you would expect full staffing to be doing the job they're doing. So I just wanted to take a minute and recognize them for doing above and beyond what we expect.
Thank you, sir. I would agree. Commissioner Bennett.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd asked for this meeting, and Sarah called me to let me know the status, is I asked for a list of all the grants and the status where they're at. She's working on that. They don't have it pulled together, but to anticipate having it at next meeting. And that's why I was thinking through the request for when we have the emergency operations, when they were coming like tonight, those are still part of those grants that we will have funding to see where we're at with all of our grants and grants receivables and so forth. So we don't have it tonight, but it is forthcoming. And Sarah and I she called me to let me know the status of where they were at.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Motley?
I'm good tonight. I'm glad the Council on Aging bus wash is active and going. That's a big deal.
100%. I
Yeah.
talked to them last night, they're using it, no problems.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
some guy come out of Michigan or somewhere that designed it and done whatever he had to do, and it's working.
Good deal.
I think that's been on the pending business list for like 5 or 6 years.
It's been on the pending business report for sure, and I know we updated we serviced the backflow preventer, and that was a good thing that needed to be done, although it wasn't the root to all the problems.
It helped.
It helped,
It helped.
and then also, like I said, with the design build, the contractor came back and made it right. So
Right, so everything.
pleased to see that.
Yeah. No. Anything else?
I think I'm good.
And I don't have anything, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.